Welcome back to Season 3 of InterpreTIPS, where you get to ask any burning questions you've ever had about interpreting. Hi, I'm Marjory Bancroft, Director of Cross-Cultural Communications in Maryland and founder of the Community Interpreter. Today's question is about interpreting acronyms, and it comes to us from an interpreter in Minnesota. Here's the question. Hi, Marjory and Catherine. I have a question about interpreting acronyms as a healthcare interpreter. In the English language and medical field, acronyms are commonly used. However, in Spanish, they're used much less frequently. There was much discussion in our 40-hour training class for staff about whether interpreters should interpret acronyms or use the medical term if they know it offhand. For instance, if the doctor asks if a patient has ever tested positive for TB, is it better to say tuberculosis rather than TB? Other examples include MRSA, VRE, HIV, and AIDS. In my experience, I tend to say VIH and CETA for HIV and AIDS, but we'll say the full term for MRSA and VRE, since these are acronyms that are not commonly used in Spanish. What are your thoughts? Thanks. First, what a great question. It pops up all over the country because there are no national standards or requirements for interpreting acronyms. So here are just a few general guidelines because in reality, interpreters make their own decisions on the ground. Use your common sense, be accurate, but here are some collected best practices. First of all, just as you say, if there is a common equivalent acronym in the target language that the patient's likely to understand, like VIH for HIV in Spanish or CETA in Spanish for AIDS, by all means use them. If not, here are a few collected best practices. So if you're using the English acronym, you could interpret its meaning directly into the other language. You could use the target language acronym, but if it's not common and you're worried that the patient is not actually going to understand it, you could also spell out the meaning of the words in the target language after the acronym. You could also use the English acronym, but then request that the provider explain the acronym. Or you could use the English acronym, but then alert the provider that, to your best knowledge, there isn't an equivalent in the target language. At the end of the day, there are other strategies. Those are the main ones. But what you're looking to do is strengthen direct communication and facilitate communication. If there is no patient understanding, is there meaningful communication? No. And if there is no patient understanding, there is also no patient safety. Finally, remember that your role is to support what we call communicative autonomy. That is the capacity of each party in the encounter to be responsible for and in control of their own communication. So any strategies for interpreting acronyms that support and strengthen communicative autonomy will also support and strengthen direct communication. So be accurate, use your common sense. Good luck, and thanks for a super question.